basically everywhere that I've gone, the men are men and the women are too. Meaning that for the most part, most of our women have adopted pretty strong male approaches to life. They really are functioning more out of a male psychology than a feminine psychology. And many of them even having almost like disdain for the feminine side. I do a lot of bodywork, energy work, and almost inevitably the feeling side of the woman is pretty shut down. She's very strong in the head. Many of the women just carry a total huge roll of tension right up under the ridge of the skull in order to maintain keeping their energy in their head all the time and never really allowing it to drop back down into their bodies. So I'm really putting a tremendous focus on really encouraging women to stop and take a look at where you are, mainly because of the simple fact that we're at a point now where they're practically eating your children, and I don't even know if the women on the planet even recognize that it's going on. When they start taking your children and against your will pumping them full of drugs in school just because they're children, then the planet has become pretty insane. And this is going on all over the world now. It's not just happening in here, it's happening in America. In fact, it's gotten to the point that you've been asleep at the wheel for so long until now you could be prosecuted if you don't let them do what they want to do with your children. And I say this could only happen because the woman has completely lost her voice on the planet. Even when I'm doing private sessions with women, it's a real challenge to get them to hear their own voice. They'll talk up a blue streak for something else or somebody else. But when it comes to really being present and really allowing themselves to hear their own voice and to really give volume to it, just because that's how it is, most of them are just almost like totally petrified. So in the same token, I'm also challenging the men that I come in contact with to stand up and to represent maleness in a totally different form too as well. In that the men really need to become educated enough to really support women in really going on and digging in there deep and coming on up and bringing forth all that they brought to the planet. And really support them in nothing other than just that. In other words, no longer coddling the childishness, the little girlishness, and all of the trippiness that we've conditioned our women to function in. Men are needing to say, I love you to the end, I support you day and night in any way that I can, but I will not coddle bullshit in you. Period. Not even for a second. And the reason being is that if we fail to restore the feminine quality to the planet, humanity is in dire straits. And I don't even know if anybody's paying attention. This is how much you've been lulled to sleep until you just get up, and if you can figure out that you've got your bills paid, which the bills that you shouldn't even have if you were on the same planet, but if you can get up and figure out that you've got those paid, then you feel like you've arrived for that day. This is insanity. And you're only in this struggle. One of the things that I share with the women that come to see me is that if a woman is struggling in her life on any level, or if the relating or the unit that she's a part of is struggling, it's simply because she's totally forgotten what it is to be a woman. A woman is capable of manifesting anything that she needs to manifest right out of her womb in the same way that she manifests children. So if you're in struggle and everybody that's in contact with you is in struggle, then you went to sleep at the wheel. The woman is so powerful, you can give her a sperm, a little water, and some food and lock her in a room and come back in 9 months and she'll give you a fully developed young human being. She will have magnetized and drawn to her from wherever it is in the universe everything, and there are many, many chemicals, there are many, many different constituents to producing a human being. Everything that's in the universe is in a human being. So now if a woman can magnetize and bring all of that to her in a room with just a little water and food, then what is creating a $1 million business? What is creating a society that is completely beautified in every way, where everything that is here is completely and 100% supporting our humanity? But she's got to be thinking about some things different than the things that she's been thinking about. She can't be in the mirror being upset because one side of her nose is not the same size as the other side of her nose. She can't be tripping about and being caught in lack of self-worth. All that even means, I have tons of women come see me and they all have self-worth issues. What is a self-worth issue? Could somebody please tell me? I'm still waiting to be enlightened on that one. It's not a self-worth issue. It's a self-hatred issue. You as complete as you will ever be. You came here already totally okay. The only way that you can even stand there and say, well, I have a self-worth, that means that you got up one day and decided based on something that you'd encountered here on this insane planet. You encountered something that told you that you should hate yourself. And you bought it. Whoever and whatever that was that started that insanity for you is gone on, and now you get up every day and continue it on yourself. The other thing that I find that women come and they're concerned about getting older, and they're concerned about they don't feel like they look the way that they ought to look in order to compete with other women. I'm like, what in the hell are you talking about? I have a standard thing, and I'm going to play with it quite a bit in the weekend environment, but I'll just throw it out there as a thought right now. I ask women, if you were a woman in a room with 30 other women, and I brought the most beautiful man, conscious, and all he wanted to do was spend an evening with a woman, and he came into the room, and there's 30 women. He's just going to walk around, and for 2 or 3, maybe 5 minutes, he's going to speak to each one of you individually, and then at the end make his choice as to who's he going to spend the evening with. What would you say during your 5 minutes that would make him choose you above the other 29 in the room?
Well, you might not find him attractive. Why would you want to?
Say that.
Convince him of anything?
I didn't say convince him of anything. I said, what would you say that would make him want to choose you? Not that you even cared. Not that you even cared whether he chose you or not.
Why would you bother me?
Say that again?
Why would you bother me if you didn't care?
Well, I say that a woman should be representing who she really is. I don't care whether somebody's around or not. So if you're really here representing and really standing for what you are about, then just your normal conversation should be enough to have him say, my God, I would love to spend the evening with you. Not because you even want him to. Or not because you care. But one of the other things say that.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Oh, you're most welcome. And all along the way, you may have to challenge me to clarify a lot of things because I'm pretty radical sometimes. But feel free to do so. Another thing that I've come across that I also am wanting to communicate a little bit about is that we have a setup going on the planet for the most part. Everything is backwards. Everything is backwards. Whatever you think you know about life and whatever you've heard, basically, you can pretty much just wake up one day and make a list of what you believe about everything and turn it around 180 degrees. Maybe you will be almost close to something that's real. You might have to turn it, if you're really confused, you might have to turn it a full 360. And one of the confusing beliefs that we have is that all men want is sex. How many women feel that this is pretty much true of most men? Could I see a show of hands of the women that pretty much feel that most of the time, for the most part, all men want is sex? Could I see the hands of the women that do not feel that that's true? This is an enlightened group of women. So how many feel that all women wanted sex? How many feel that sex is more of a woman's thing than a man's thing? One. Sex is totally a woman's thing. Even though it flies in the face of most popular belief. And why do I say that sex is a woman's thing? Because the woman is the one that if you take her and really bring her along in her energy the way that she's capable of going, she'll take about an hour to reach a peak and then ride that peak and stay in orgasmicness for 3 or 4 hours. How many men you know can do that? And not only that, when a woman has really been interacted with properly, she becomes an availability for sex. Most of the women that I know, they're kind of like this. You look at them and they go, is that an indication that you want to? You have to be kind of careful. You go through the room like this. Hi. Or you come in starting at the door before you get in the room and say, whoa, I've really got a busy day today. You start establishing that there's a lot going on before you get in the room, so that it's kind of known that you got to kind of keep moving. Now, is this a bad thing? No. One of the things that we have totally lost touch with is that early on, before it became what you see here now, women were totally free. They fucked whoever they wanted to, whenever they wanted to, however long they wanted to, and the men were not complaining. This was natural. Women have become so unnatural now, they don't even know, I don't know if I want to have sex or not. I'm like, what? What? That's kind of like, do you have to ask people when you need to pee too? I'm like getting really nervous because you start losing touch with these kinds of things, and you could defecate on somebody because you don't know it's coming. But basically, the women were totally free, is what I'm saying to you. And the planet was much more sane than it is now. If you suppress a woman, you suppress her passion, you make her totally unnatural, she becomes very jealous, very vindictive, very manipulative, very controlling, and rightfully so. Because she's not free. She's not allowed to be who she is according to her own likings, her own desires, her own intimations, her own motivations, and in order to follow her spirit so that she can be and do whatever she needs to be and do on this planet in order to know herself in her fullness. Men also need this freedom. But in the very nature of things, if the woman doesn't have this freedom, the society as a whole suffers, because she also is going to give birth to the young men. And if she's angry and pissed off and jealous and vengeful because she doesn't feel like she has a freedom to be exactly who she is without needing to get permission from somebody, then I guarantee you one thing, the sons that grow up under her hand are not going to be fully developed. Which is the situation that most of the men that I come in contact with are dealing with. Having had horrendous relationships with their mothers. As a result, they grow up their whole entire life being nothing but little boys in big bodies. Totally stripped of every ounce of manhood, no balls about them at all. So how did it get like this? One of my things that I share nowadays, I said, the day that we have actually taken marriage to the museum and it has become a museum piece. I know everybody goes, marriage to the museum? I see women in this day and time on this planet, you start to look at a woman as though you're drawn to her, if she's magnetized you to her, and you get there and she goes, do you want to get married? We can have sex, that's not a problem, but do you want to get married? Because you're going to have to marry me, and then we can start whatever you would like to start. This would be like equivalent to me going to a huge penitentiary and walking up to the guard outside and saying, he's trying to speak to me, and I'm saying, not unless you let me in the prison. See, marriage was not brought to this planet because of love in any way, shape, form, or fashion. This is where you women completely went to sleep at the wheel. You have equated love and marriage as being synonymous. Not using your intelligence. You haven't been using your intelligence. There's no equation, no equating love and marriage. Marriage came to this planet because of private property. So basically what a woman is asking when she goes up to a man and says, I'll have sex with you, but you have to marry me first. She's saying, you will have to make me your private property. But what in a woman makes her get up in the morning and decide she wants to be somebody's private property? Could somebody help me with that one? Anybody? I'm open.
Insecurity? Maybe?
Mostly. Because one of the things that was going on at another point in time when we lived in community, then everybody did whatever and we shared everything and life was beautiful at a certain level. When private property came in and then the men started to have private property, then they also wanted to make sure that if they died, because of the way the controlling mind functions, it wants to know what its private property is doing when it's in its grave. So it says, okay, if I want to have private property go on after I'm gone, I need to have somebody to leave it with that I want to have it. So then you need offspring. You need children that you know are your blood. So woman was talked into giving up her freedom to just be who she was, and talked into a thing where the men say, I will give you security. I will build some little box somewhere of some nature, put you in it, make sure you're protected, make sure you have whatever you want in this box if you will stop having sex whenever you want to. Because I need to know that whatever children that you have are my children, so that I'll know that my children get my land when I leave the earth. This is insane. But women went for it and said, let me think about that for a second. My own little private box. I'll be pretty much isolated from everybody. I get to pick up your clothes, cook for you, mend your clothes, take care of your children, take care of the box. I'll be totally isolated from all of my sisters that I really love hanging out with when we like run off and go into the woods and like maybe even fuck one person together sometime. So I can't do that anymore. I can haul your children around. I can manage your money. I can run errands for you. And you'll give me an allowance.
Those are all poses. What was the system before that was offered to them, and why did they want to change it?
The women didn't want to. It was the men that wanted to. That's the question I keep asking myself. What was going on that day?
What was the system before?
The woman, basically, the only thing that before was that the community, the children belonged to the community. One of the strange things is that we have this idea of father now, and we hear the father that doesn't take care of his kids and this kind of shit. But back then, there was no word for father. There was no word that even represented father. The word that was closest to it was uncle. Why? Because the women were having sex with all these different people, only the woman had a pretty strong idea who the father was. And there was no DNA testing back then. So, therefore, what happened is that you just called all the men of a certain age uncle, because you knew your father was in there somewhere. So they didn't even have a word. They didn't even have a word for father. That came along much later. You had mother and something that was equivalent to uncle. The man was not as significant in everybody's mind then as he is now. Now it's like, it looks like everything hinges on him. But it's all because everything got twisted. And the woman gave up her freedom. But the other interesting thing is as soon as the woman said, you know, I think I'll go for that. At least we'll try it out for a while. He said, cool, good. Now my thing of who's going to get my land when I die is pretty fucking secure. She's agreed. I just need to build this little box and get her in it and keep the windows kind of small so she doesn't see too much of what goes out in the outer world. And then he went out and immediately started prostitution. Because see, he agreed that he also would not have any other partners. That was part of how he tricked her into agreeing. But then he went out immediately, and instituted prostitution. Why?
He got bored.
Yes, you're exactly right. Because intelligence needs variety. The moment that you are an individual that comes into this planet and you know one woman, one job, one house, one city, it's even worse. You're an idiot. You're a stone idiot. I don't want to have anything to do with you. So now the woman is like isolated. So what happens to her over time? See, woman is just not coming out of the house, so to speak. For many, many, many years, she was just totally, basically idiot. I used to see these movies where they would depict, especially in America, they depict the women, and she'd be like out in a car. They had this movie once where the woman let her drive a car, and she's like out in the car, and the car starts doing something, and she's like gets nervous, and it bags up over stuff, and then she goes forward over stuff. It's like she just had no clue of what to do with the thing, and then she just jumps out of it with it running. Meaning she really was not in touch with the world and anything in it. Anytime someone takes you and isolates you somewhere and you don't really are not really allowed to educate yourself and understand how to do things for yourself, women are not stupid. They just don't have exposure. See, even the simple fact that I come into different countries, and it's the same in every country. We've got 50%, most instances maybe 60% women and 40% men, and every office is held by a man. I don't get it. If this was a sane society, if there's an office, in order for it to be balanced and sane, there'd be a male and there'd be a female sitting right beside him to keep his ass in check. But the women said, no, Just give me the security in the box. I don't really even care what else happens. It's like, huh? So now they're making rules and regulations out in the world that are governing you and your children, and you actually have absolutely no say because you went to sleep at the wheel somewhere for security. But the security that you even went to sleep for is not even real security. Because these men tend to get up after a certain point and leave you and go somewhere and find somebody younger at just the point when you need the security the most. So I'm saying that we've got to wake up here. This is childishness. This is insanity running amok. There is never ever, in order for two human beings to relate, there's never ever any need for anything other than deep friendliness and honesty. You do not need to possess or to control another human being to relate. The moment that you do any of those things, in the moment that you close your hand around another human being, you have killed that human being anyway. You do not have anything but the package they came in. The human being, the spirit, is already left. So this whole thing of I'm looking for my perfect soulmate, my perfect twin flame, you're looking for commercialized insanity. There's nobody made for you. Nobody made for you. There are many people that you will find that you resonate with and have a lot of compatibility and ability to relate beautifully. But they weren't made for you. They didn't come here just waiting to look up and see you one day and go, oh, that's who I want to be owned by. That's the one. You need your freedom. You need the ability to be able to stay in touch with your own God within. You cannot make a God out of another human being. I don't care how many times you repeat the wedding vows. You cannot forfeit or give away your right to follow your own innate wisdom. The moment that you do that, you're guaranteed to create a world of suffering for yourself. In the name of love.